My microphone wasn't on the first time I recorded this. So, for the second time, I'm going to be talking about Bookish and the Beast by Ashley Poston. It is so cute and so good. If you do not know what this is about, this is the third book of the Once Upon a Con series, but they all work as standalone novels. Geekerella, the Cinderella retelling, and then The Princess and the Fangirl, which is the retelling of The Prince and the Pauper. Princess and the Pauper, for those of us who watched the Barbie movies and learned all of those lyrics.
I'm just like you, I'm just like you, you're just like me, you're just like me.
And this is the retelling of Beauty and the Beast. It takes a girl who's a big fan of the Starfield series. Rosie Thorne, she is our belle of the story. And when she happens upon this mansion that looks abandoned, she goes inside and finds this huge library and finds a book that looks like exactly the same one that her mother used to have, an original Starfield copy. She gets caught, runs out into the pool, and takes the book in with her, putting her father and herself in debt with the owners of the house. And instead of paying it back because they really can't, Rosie agrees to come back to the house every day and to start cataloging this library. And who catches her but Vance Raines, the bad boy of Hollywood, the villain of the Starfield adaptation novels, quite beastly, if you will. If you have not read this book, go and read it. It's super short and it's super fast. You don't necessarily need to know the other ones. There's a couple like spoilery things as far as like who ends up as couples in this book that are from the other books, but it's not like it's couples you wouldn't guess early in the other books. So if you have not read this, go read it, come back. Goodbye. Goodbye. There are so many fun little like nods to Beauty and the Beast throughout this book because it is an adaptation, and one of them is amazing when she walks into the mansion, doesn't think anybody lives there, and realizes that it's very modern inside, and she's like, wow, they don't use any antlers in their decorating. And she's like, every other home does, because she's kind of from the Appalachia area. That's like close to where I'm from, and she mentions Asheville and that they have to play teams from Asheville for their homecoming. And I died because teams from Asheville, what do they give you in the water, people? Y'all are taller and faster, and I don't understand. Their sports teams are so good, and I felt that so hard. She goes inside this abandoned mansion area, finds this huge library, sees the book that looks like her mom's book, and accidentally gets caught. And she's like, oh my gosh, this is Vance Raines, and takes off and runs into a pool, taking the book with her. And so Elias, who is Vance's uncle, who is living with Vance while Vance has been expelled from Hollywood for a while by his parents. He's like, instead of paying for the book, you could fix up this library. It needs to be cataloged and organized. And he almost says it's Natalia Ford's house, but he catches himself. And Natalia Ford was the woman who played Amara in that original series, and she's now the director of the Starfield movies. And we have the perfect Gaston character. His name is Garrett, and he is like the self-absorbed Jacques. The self-absorbed jock kind of character. He's running for Homecoming King, and he asks everyone to write in Rosie as his queen. And it's very much that Gaston trope where all the girls are like, why don't you like him? It's great. We find out why Vance has been banished to the middle of nowhere, and it's because he was accruing too much bad press. He's kind of a party guy, he's the villain everybody wants him to be, and he, Elle, and Darian, who Elle is Geekerella from the first book in this series, and she's dating the main actor, Darian, from the Starfield adaptation movies, but she has to go home to study. She asks Vance for a ride home, and he ends up accidentally running them off the road, which is really bad, and so everybody's like, you almost killed Elle, the sweetheart of this franchise, because we all love the way they got together. They got together at a Comic-Con. It was really such a cute book. But now they've broken up because it looks like Elle was cheating on Darian with Vance. And there was just so much bad press about it that Vance had to get out of the spotlight for a while, and his parents sent him to go live with Elias in this house to kind of get him away from paparazzi and make sure nobody can find him. All the characters in this book are so good because Rosie's two best friends, Quinn and Annie, love her dad, and it's so funny. They call him Space Dad. He's super attractive. Annie's like low-key in love with him. It's so funny. He's a librarian. He does have that very like kind of jumps from job to job kind of like an innovator type of idea that matches up with that Beauty and the Beast father figure. And we get to see from both points of view, which is lovely, because Vance realizes that Rosie has that rose-shaped birthmark he has seen before. It turned out that Rosie and Vance had met at a Comic-Con. They both kept their masks on the whole time. They hadn't told each other their names. Vance had used a fake accent. And they basically like fallen for each other over this one night. And then Vance realizes like, oh my gosh, this girl low-key stole a book from my house, lives in the middle of nowhere. This is not who I pictured when he met her. There's a mention of Mrs. Potts because Quinn and Annie and Rosie always meet up at this diner, and they're making homecoming posters so that Quinn can become Homecoming Overlord, and they like say, we wave goodbye to Miss Potts at the cash register, and I was like, can we take a moment? Can we take a moment? There's so many references to things that I just absolutely love in this book. Vance plays all these dating sims. He doesn't really date people and have relationships, but he does love these dating sims. And he says, I much preferred the one with the pigeons. Does anybody else watch Mike's Mike? I don't understand the dating sim. I've never played these before, but like, I was like, what are the odds that you would mention this? And then like one of my favorite YouTubers made a whole video about this.
I'd be happy to make you breakfast.
Ooh, hit it.
Okay.
So it doesn't take Rosie very long to figure out that Vance is General Sand, because she sees the mask that he was wearing that night, and she's just like, I was not looking for you, but I found you, and you are not who I thought this was gonna be. And she's like, you know, I realized who he is, and that he's this movie star who's really moody and angry, and that's not who I wanted it to be. And she's like, I bet I'm not who he wanted me to be. And things get real awkward and they start avoiding each other. Yet another reference. I don't even know if this was intentional. When her dad drops her off at school the next day, she sprained her ankle after she realized that Vance was her mystery man, and she gets hurt and he has to take care of her, and it's really awkward. I love tropes like that where one of them gets hurt and they hate each other but they have to take care of each other. Amazing. And her dad drops her off at school and she has the crutches, and it's just such a horrible day for her. And he leans out the window, he goes, make good choices. And I was like, that is straight Jamie Lee Curtis from the Freaky Friday movie.
Bye, honey. Make good choices.
So that afternoon when Rosie is at the library, she's cataloging. Vance is supposed to be helping her, but he literally never does. And the downstairs bathroom is broken, so she has to go and use Vance's bathroom. And during the day, she told her friends that, like, while she was in the yard, she was around snot-year-olds, which is hilarious. Quinn gave her this little potion to drink, and Rosie is like, this is Jello. But she's drinking it and she's like, this tastes disgusting. I hope this keeps me from getting sick. And then she accidentally spills some in Vance's bathroom. It is bright orange, and so she uses a bright orange hair towel to wipe it up. She doesn't want Vance to be any more mad at her. We all saw this coming except for Rosie. Just a little while later, Vance walks out of the bathroom with bright orange hair. Yet another amazing trope is that they both get locked out of the house, and they have to run into this poolside shed where they finally are forced to talk about each other, and they share a blanket, and Elias makes fun of them for it, and it's amazing. But while they're in there, they're talking, like, I mean, they have to talk about this. They have to talk about the fact that they've met before, and they really hit it off, obviously. And the whole time Rosie is like, you just, like, don't like me, like, that's fine. And he basically is about to say, no, you're perfect. And she's like, oh, so, like, he doesn't want to be involved. He doesn't want to be, like, seen with me. And she doesn't fully understand, but they do start to hit it off, and then Vance decides to ask her out, which I did not see coming. I was like, wow, like a character actually asking someone out. We never get this. But Rosie is like, no. Like it kind of surprises her that she would say no, because she really did like this guy, and part of her really does wish that she never knew who it was, that she had this perfect image in her head. Vance has like proposed going out as different people, like them being undercover. She's like, I don't want to be with someone who doesn't want to be seen with me, basically. And like her saying no does catch Vance off guard. He is not used to hearing the word no. But he does accept it, and that is the difference between him and Garrett, this Gaston character who never accepts a no from Rosie, even though she tells him no so many times. I died laughing. Rosie is such a relatable character. They're still in this phase where they're kind of avoiding each other because her saying no to a date was kind of awkward for him, and just, it's weird. And she sees him reading, and he realizes that she's there. Says like, I know you're there. And she's like, think of something clever, say something clever. And she's like, yeah, I'm here. Her internal monologue. Noise. I laughed for like 5 straight minutes. Incredible. But Space Dad accidentally catches their apartment on fire, so they will be staying with Elias and Vance for the weekend. We love to see it. But as they kind of bond as friends and like kind of liking each other, and Rosie's like, he's so attractive, but I don't want to date someone who doesn't want to be with me in public. After the weekend's over and she can return to her house, he drives her home and realizes like she makes him so happy. And it's like that moment in Beauty and the Beast where he's like, I want to do something for her. So he calls Natalia and asks if he can have that book that she loves so much. The Starless Throne. It is so funny when Rosie is like, I will literally never tell him this, but I wake up to Vance Raines every morning because she bought some sort of like fan art of him scandalously clad as General Sand. I can't. And both Rosie and Vance have these sort of parallel conversations with Elias and her best friend, where they're like, you're in love? And both of them have like, oh crap, I am. It's so funny. There might be something there that wasn't there before.
There may be something there that wasn't there before.
So Rosie asks him to homecoming, and he doesn't answer, which is so annoying. And then Vance is like, I have something for you, and hands her the Starless Throne, and he's like, this one's for you. And she looks at the last page and realizes that it is her mother's copy. And like, it wasn't that hard to put together. They bought it from a local seller. It would have been her and her dad trying to sell this off to make money for the funeral and stuff like that. And her mom's inscription at the end is to Rosie, and she's like, this is the beginning of your story, not the end. Which is a big turning point for Rosie, because this whole time she's been like, her mother dying really felt like the end of her own life, and she hasn't been able to really work through this, which is showing when she's trying to write her college admissions essay. She's like, I don't want to go for pity, but what else is there in my life other than this big event? She's like, nothing will ever hurt that bad, like there's nothing else she can write about. But now as she's realizing that this is just the beginning of her story, she's like going to be able to write about this, and that's like such a huge point for her, is to realize that like she can move forward despite this horrible thing happening in her past. Okay, so it is so funny that every morning these three kids are late for school, and there's this guy on a golf cart who goes and like catches kids who are going late, and they usually fend them off with a bagel, but that doesn't work today. And so they're like, run! And they like ditch the car, and they're running to their classes to avoid this man in the golf cart. And Rosie runs into Garrett, which doesn't seem like a big deal, until homecoming day. At the homecoming dance, Garrett picks up the microphone and is like, Rosie, I'm pretty sure you'll go with me to the dance tomorrow, which sounds like a threat. We get a note of a pink-haired girl being like, Rosie, like, where have I heard that? She's sitting right there. And it's so funny because like right before that, there's like a cheer off between Annie and this girl because their brothers are the quarterbacks. It's amazing. It's so funny. I love it. But Garrett is still going on. He's like, I don't know why you would date a guy like that. Like, I know you said you like the villain. And then Quinn, our homecoming overlord, steps in, takes the microphone, and does the classic, sorry, I'ma let you finish, but Rosie isn't like that. Then Quinn, my friend, my confidant, my patronus, outstretches the microphone and drops it onto his chest. Amazing. Amazing. But then Rosie is like, why did Garrett say that? Like, I'm so confused. Like, how does he even know that I like someone? And then she realizes that when she ran into him that morning, that was about when she lost her phone, and Garrett must have sent in the video of her seeing Vance Raines and running out into the pool and all that she took at the very beginning of the book. That got leaked now. And the girl next to them with the pink hair, who is Imogen, is like, you're Vance's Rosie. And then Rosie runs away. She's like, I gotta go tell Vance that it's not me. By the time she gets there, there's all this paparazzi, and Vance will not listen to her, and she's like, his mask is back on. Like, the mask that he wears in Hollywood, she's not getting through to this guy. And it hurts because he automatically assumes it's her and just does not believe her. This book definitely is about Vance and Rosie's relationship, but what is so important in this entire book is the close friendship she has with Quinn and Annie, and it's so important to who she is as a person. When she's like crying about Vance and all this stuff that has gone down, she hears like the Starfield theme outside her window, and it's her friend standing there with a boombox. Like, it's not Vance, it's her two best friends, and she like runs down to them. It's so sweet. Like, I was crying. She was like, these two will be here to hold me together forever. It's just so Imogen, though, because she was there and she saw this happen, goes over to Vance's and it's like, you better figure this out, because it wasn't Rosie who did this. Vance has to have a moment to gather himself and figure this out, but he does. And he's like, I need to go get Rosie. It might be too late. Pride and Prejudice reference. It is a truth universally acknowledged that if you are the daughter of a librarian who was also the president of your kindergarten's PTA, your father will volunteer to be a chaperone to the homecoming dance, just to destroy any prospects you might have for a good time. Amazing. Her dad runs and he's like, get pumped, and he's wearing all sequins. And that's, I didn't realize this for so long, but that's like her dad saying homecoming to Elias, because they hit it off when they were staying at their house, and I was just like, this man is so, I just love him. Quinn and Annie are there, and he realizes that Rosie's not planning to go to the homecoming dance anymore, and he's like, I have some advice. And Annie's like, oh, Space Dad has advice. And Quinn is like, speak wisdom to us. Amazing. But then he like leans down to his daughter and tells her Amara up, and that's like, Amara's the female lead of the Starfield series, and she's very brave. Amara up is what Rosie's mom would always say to her, to like encourage her to be brave and to push past her anxieties and stuff like that. And it's sort of like the be brave of the Divergent series. Like, it's what she has to remember, and she says it to herself all the time. And so she realizes like, yeah, I'm gonna go to homecoming with my two best friends as my dates, because that's what should happen anyways. And it's a really strong moment for her. And then at the same time, Vance is stuck in traffic because there's only one road in and one road out to this whole town. He's mentally like, if this was a dating simulation, what would my choices be? And it would be like, wait for fate to figure it out because you're in a traffic jam, and if you find her, or get out and run after her. And he decides on the second one, which Imogen is like, wow, I am shocked. And he starts running to the dance. He comes in, Garrett is pissed off, the two boys start fighting. First of all, this is hilarious because, like, you know, it's always so dramatic in the movies and stuff like that. And now it's like these two teenage boys, and Rosie is watching this and she's like, they're not really fighting, they're kind of trying to avoid getting hit while looking tough. She's like, kind of pathetic. Two guys are fighting over me and I'm not even impressed. And then Rosie steps in and she's like, you know, my dad taught me a lot of things, but my mom taught me how to punch. And she punches Garrett in the nose, and it is amazing. And then she and Vance are like dancing together and whatnot. But the best part is this moment where she's hearing all these people talking around her about them. And somebody says, who's going to tell her this is Stockholm Syndrome? We've all had that thought watching Beauty and the Beast. Vance is babbling and like telling her like he's sorry. She tells him to Amara up, and it's so cute, and they have their kiss at the homecoming dance. We love a good teen rom-com. The last scene is just so cute. We're at a drive-in movie for the first two Starfield movies. Darian and Elle are back together. We have our whole crew there, and then Vance is like, don't tell anyone. And he pulls out a script, and it's for the Starless Throne, which is Rosie's favorite book. It was her mom's favorite book, and now it's going to be an adaptation. And it's the story of General Son, Vance's character, like at a softer angle for a villain, and it's his romance arc, and it's just such a good end. And then there's the inscription at the end where it was like her mom telling her that this is the beginning, and Rosie realizing that's right. That was beautiful. I give this like a 4.5 out of 5. It was super, super cute. It has all the best tropes. It really digs into like fangirl culture, which I always love. My name's Katelyn. Thanks for watching. Bye!